Hey guys! So, I saw my last video on how to make Virtual Riot Complextro did really well. So I figured out, why not just do Future Bass as well? Though he has covered a lot of like arrangement and stuff for Future Bass, but I decided to remake this little thing from his stream. So this is the original thing.
Sometimes I want to break all of the rules. Sometimes I go on to silence my youth. Sometimes I feel like there's nothing to lose. Sometimes it's best to run wild.
And this is what I made, without the vocals, of course. And yes, I did actually make my own vocal right here. So you may be thinking to yourself, how the hell did you make that? Well, it's pretty simple. The hovering chords, as I told you guys in the Complextro video, I used the LFO modulating the volume of both oscillators. One of them has detune on them, some bright white noise, and some hyper dimension with the mix at around 30%, and with a slight bit of reverb with the envelope on, so the reverb only works when the sound is actually playing. This is the ARP, don't worry about the volume thing here. I just used Harmor because Harmor doesn't take much CPU. I could have used Serum, but it's easier to use Harmor. You could also use the 3x oscillator. 3x oscillator, square wave, just as long as you have the square wave. Turn it down 1 octave. Yeah, it works. Yeah, that was the chords. These are the chords. And then we have the super ARP. If you're wondering, how the hell did you make that? Well, the truth is, when I made the ARP, I went into, for example, this part, when it doesn't have any drums. Then I soloed the original thing, put it to 4-step, and then I listened to like one individual tone like this. And then I kind of figure out how to do the ARPs, because they're like really advanced. So, if you were to try this, it would probably sound like this. The trick is to have an LFO tool, which is basically the same as the Serum LFO, just with simple volume. You could also do filters from Serum, like reverb and stuff. The LFO goes in the rate of 1/8 notes, so the ARP is actually hovering. The sub is just a normal sub in the background, dedicated sub from VR's presets 2. I highly encourage you guys to actually use this sub, because it has some overtones like this is the normal sub. And then it has this overtone, which is 1 octave higher. And then another overtone, which is 1 octave higher, again, just with 7 semitones up. And then you could always adjust how much of each you want. For the drums, the kick, I got this kick from a pack called Trisamples 808 Trap Step Pack Volume 1. It has many cool, like the chill hip hop. They work pretty well for Future Bass, I guess. For the snare or the clap, it's a layer of 3 different sounds. And for this little ARP thing, or I don't know what to call it, this is a kalimba from the Contact Factory library. You hear VR use it pretty often. In between all the chords here, you hear like these small little, I don't know what to call them, bleeps, or like this one and these two. They are basically just sine waves. I don't know if the filter really matters on this one, but it has pitch automation, which is about 1 octave, the volume cuts out immediately. On this little thing here, I did this. I was just messing around and I thought, like, it doesn't really matter. It sounds good. So I just did some random shit here. This is the pitch, LFO2 on 1 octave up. And LFO3 is just modulating this one. This is the effects, if anyone even bothers. Then we have some random cymatics, ball thing. And then an iPhone shutter sound effect for extra aesthetics. Then we have a random music box thing. If you ever had one of those X-Acto knives, they have like this kind of wheel that you screw to loosen and tighten the blade. Kind of sounds like you're winding up a music box. For the intro, I used some bird ambience in the background. And then something called a glockensible. And then a sub. And then some saw waves with some filter. Getting higher and higher. And then a Virtual Riot pad. In the last video about Complextro, I also used pads and people were like asking me all the time what kind of pads it was. I'm gonna say it right now. This is the Virtual Riot Atmos pack with tons of pads. I recommend it to you guys because it contains some beautiful pads. Then some violins in the background. And a ticking clock. And on this last part I used EQ to just fade out the pad. Okay, so what did we learn from doing this? When you're making like giant future-based stuff, use some kind of real kick and have giant hovering chord with or without ARPs in the background. But it adds more detail if you use the ARP in the background, so it sounds better. So what I've been noticing in Virtual Riot style lately is that he has been using like tiny little sounds. Just use like random sounds. For example, like the iPhone shutter and the music box wind up. I made this video because I asked someone on Discord if I should do a tutorial on this. Let's just say I had to. That's pretty much all I have for this. I hope you guys learned something. So I'll see you guys in my next video.